but a competitive way, in a good way. It means that it's validating what you guys are going to be looking to do. How close are we to seeing us using space resources right now?
Well, I can tell you that Astroforge is planning to bring material back to Earth, our first pieces of near-Earth asteroid before the end of this decade. So we've got it takes us about 9 months to get out to the near-Earth object, and then we spend about 3 months mining it, and then about a year to get back. So once we launch, it's about a 2-year cycle before we get material back, and we plan to return material as soon as our Deep Space 3 mission, which is the one after this one coming up on Intuitive Machine. Wheel of cheese, I should say.
Well, this is the Pez dispenser. I mean, you don't have to be of a certain age to realise what that is referencing. I do love that. It's fun. You've got to have some fun with this. They are doing exciting things. Why not make it fun as well? Oh, the chat's asking, what kind of cheese was it?
I think it was, was it a Stilton or a Carlsberg? Yeah, I don't remember. Last when it came back, it got sealed away in a case. It was pretty stinky.
Here we go.
There we go. One of them out. And now
Doesn't seem like we're
let's see
getting
that
live
second
views
one.
though.
Yeah, they said that they might be a bit delayed with the turnaround in those videos. They don't expect live views yet. Haha. Hang on. And there goes
Oh, look at the
light.
light. Look at that. As it travels halfway around the world from where it took off.
Sometimes our science reality feels like science.
I assume that's where we're hearing all the cheers coming from. We're currently 29 minutes almost into this flight.
Is that the door closing yet? Or when does that close, Alex? It looks like it is.
Yeah, it's closing. They were just talking about that. The payload bay door is closing.
Yeah, you were able to see that light kind of dissipating as it went into place.
Spectacular.
They're a little bit excited there, as we keep saying. As they should be. I mean, this is a huge achievement. I know you've been part of these sort of things, Robin, and it's such passion that you put into these projects. What does it feel like when you see an outcome like this? It might not necessarily go perfectly to plan, but this is looking pretty good for them at the moment, right, at SpaceX?
Yeah, a plan lasts about as until you get punched in the mouth, right? That's how long a plan lasts. Yes, these are test flights. Yes, SpaceX has had many test flights of the Starship. If you look at any new launch vehicle of any size and capacity, there's actually usually about 3 out of the first 5 fail entirely. And when you look at the scale and all of the new industrial infrastructure level capability that SpaceX has had to build from the ground up in kind of an amazing amount of time, Starbase is. It's an amazing sight to behold in of itself, beyond just Starship. The fact that SpaceX has been able to do that as a private organization this entire time, certainly with lots of programs from the government and other private companies to help fund the launches and money coming in from Starlink, but the tremendous progress that has been made. And we start talking about, I mean, this is a reusable second stage. So not only the largest liquid rocket engine ever developed by humankind, but a reusable first stage and a reusable second stage with new thermal protection, modern advances in compute power and precision navigation and control. I mean, this is our science future that you're looking at. This is not Robert Heinlein book, or an Arthur C. Clarke book. I mean, this is what they had dreamed of, and what most of us have dreamed of for a long time. Really taking humanity to the stars.
You can see they're rotating the ship. In the graphic at the bottom right, and this light is actually from the satellites. They're shining this really bright light on the starship, because obviously right now they're in nighttime, orbital nighttime. There shouldn't be any sun out there. This is just like the satellites themselves, right?
So was that dot that we saw by the flap, was that the moon, or was that one of the lights from the satellites?
I think it was one of the satellites. Yeah, one of the lights from that. And it's rotating the ship, and so they're able to image the whole of the heat shield at the bottom. Wow, that's bonkers. I wonder how powerful this light is.
I mean, that was part of one of their purposes, wasn't it? To be able to send up these two extra, these Dodger dogs, as they called them, to make sure that they could get the images they want of the heat shield, which is exciting to see that this is going to plan for them.
And
well, it's super important engineering data. If you think back to Columbia, it had damage to the leading edge wing, and we didn't even really know it, or at least we didn't know the extent of it before those astronauts re-entered the Earth. So your heat shield is literally millimeters or very small number of inches between thousands of degrees of hot gas plasma directly blow-torching against the spaceship, and what amounts to aluminum underneath. So you really have to understand what the condition of those heat shields are. And if Starship returns and has a problem, you want to know what the condition of those thermal tiles were before you try to re-enter. So to be able to have access to this kind of engineering data just continues to push that team forward.
And Robin, to bring it back and sort of tie it in with what you guys are doing at Astroforge, because they're using these satellites to sort of image the ship and everything. I sort of can envision you guys sort of with one of your satellites going out to an asteroid and sort of looking at it. Are you guys going to have any sort of ways of, before you start mining it, being able to have sort of like an inspector sort of thing, just like they're using these satellites to inspect the heat shield?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually develop our own imagers specifically to be able to acquire the near-Earth objects. We're going after really small objects that are really dim, and so it requires very sensitive optics and special algorithms that we develop. All of that in-house to be able to find the asteroid.
Lights too.
Yeah, and then as you approach, well, we're gonna use the sun side. We're gonna use the big flashlight in the middle of the solar system, our day star. But those imagers help us not only find the asteroid, but then autonomously navigate towards the asteroid, eventually rendezvous with it. And then we have a set of other cameras on board that help us, that are set far apart from each other, that allow us to get some binocular visions and depth perception, so that we can see how far away the asteroid is.
Sort of like our eyes.
Exactly. If you've seen a lot of images of the moon or other asteroids, it's actually very difficult to know how large the sizes of the features that you're seeing are, because there's no point of reference. So a lot of the engineering camera images that you'll see will actually have crosshairs and things overlaid, and that's so that the engineers can actually figure out how big is that? Is that a pebble? Is that a boulder? What am I looking at? So having those kinds of engineering pieces of data is critical.
Absolutely. We're coming up to just over 35 minutes into this flight now, and talking about what am I looking at? What are we looking at, Sawyer? We're seeing it looking like it's rotating around still.
Yeah, I was just mentioning the back channel. It feels a lot like during the space shuttle program, they would do something called the rendezvous pitch maneuver after Columbia that you were talking about there, where they would flip the shuttle basically a full 360 so the people on the ISS could take photos of the heat shield to see how it did. This feels very reminiscent of that, except instead of the ISS taking the pictures, it's those two Dodger Dog elongated Starlinks, which again, we talked about the other ones being those Starlink simulators. These are actual Starlink V2 minis that have been extended out for this sole purpose here. So it's very cool to see it, and then rotating around, getting those images, and then hopefully shortly we'll see that get into its re-entry orientation too.
I've got to ask Robin, what does this compare to being like when the early stages of SpaceX when you were working on the Falcon 1s?
It's actually hard to capture in words what it felt like working at SpaceX in the early days. There's a lot of stories. There's literally been books written, there's an amazing part of being a startup that gets kind of lost, which is you never know if the doors were going to be locked on any given Monday. Success was not a guarantee, and staying in business was not a guarantee. And so when we first launched Falcon 1, we also did not expect complete success. And in fact, it only stayed in the air about 29 seconds. But that willingness to push the button and see how it goes, and to drive the cost down and get us into production, that spirit, I can tell you, is still alive at Starbase today. When I visited there, they are making a production machine, and that is how they are able to produce all of these Raptor engines in Hawthorne, and all of the SpaceX and the Starship and booster pieces at scale. Absolutely amazing.
I think this is the video that they promised will be delayed.
This is from the Dodger Dog.
Yeah, look at that.
There's one of the docking ports for when they do refueling.
Wow.
Doesn't feel real, does it? It feels like a graphic.
This was mere moments ago.
Yeah, this is not live. This is still with a few minutes delay. There we go. That's so cool.
Wow. And there's the light on it.
Well, that answers our earlier question, doesn't it? It was definitely the light from that satellite that we were seeing as it was rotating around.
You can still see some of the frost on the bottom near the engine section.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, they said that they did not expect to have a live view, that they basically were trying to turn it around, that video, as quickly as possible. They were going to be downlinking it and trying to turn it around as quickly as possible. And hey, it's been like 10 minutes since that deployment. I think that's a good turnaround. Definitely way better than certain other turnarounds that we do here at NSF. But yeah, it seems like we have passed the time that we had seen that Raptor Relight, if it had actually been approved for this part of the plan. Because as we were talking about before, they had that engine out during ascent. They had a bit of a less nominal.
Spike needs to launch his bold new delivery business online without costs going sky high. He'll need this and Namecheap, because he wants a domain that'll really take off. The perfect website and reliable web hosting. Security and privacy features that'll stop anything. Plus extra services and tools, and 24/7 customer support. All at low prices, so the savings keep stacking up. That way, his business can really fly. Namecheap. Make more online for less.
For joining us and giving us that great insight into what it was like at SpaceX and what you're doing now at Astroforge. We're very excited to see you guys launch, and we'll hopefully check in with you again very soon. We're going to get back to what we're getting into now, because we are coming up to nearly 40 minutes into this flight, which is only an hour and 5 minutes long. So it's moving quickly. We're progressing in the right direction, aren't we, Alex?
That's great. Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Robin.
Yeah, it looks like the flaps are now sort of being tucked in for that re-entry. You can kind of see those two satellites still out there, those two bright lights. And I think either those other lights are cities, or they might be the other satellites. I sort of side of the on
That
lights
city
from
lights,
cities.
for sure. And those puffs, by the way, that kind of color change that looks like it's going through, that's still those RCS thrusters that we were seeing, right?
Yeah.
RCS, by the way, reaction control systems. That's part of the in-space maneuvering engines, as opposed to the main Raptors that we're used to seeing for the actual launch and slowdown portions.
So you can see in that bottom right image, by the way, that we are over South Africa at the moment, which is exactly where they're expecting to be at around this point. So they are city lights that you are just about making out in the background.
And a reminder, the timing could change a bit of when things happen now for this part, given that they were into that slightly different trajectory they'd originally planned, although a safe one, and also that the burn went, what was it, about a minute and a half to 2 minutes longer than originally planned, to make up for that engine that went out.
Yeah, that is completely planned. Again, they run simulations. What happens if an engine goes out at this point? And you know, Sawyer, because you're a shuttle expert, I guess, that was exactly what the shuttle also was designed for. That you know, in different times during ascent, if the shuttle lost an engine, it could still go on with two engines. And in fact, one of them, the missions early on, if I'm not mistaken, STS-51F, they had an engine out about 5 minutes into ascent.
Yep, yeah, it was, you're right, STS-51F, where they did it's called an abort to orbit. So basically, the engines were starting to go out. Turns out it was sensor issues, but regardless, to be safer, they went into a slightly lower than originally planned orbit, rather than going all the way up to their intended one. But yeah, the shuttle had multiple engine out capabilities. Pretty much all rockets have some form of engine out capability on the way hill that they could still make it up to space, maybe just burn a little bit extra. And case in point, that's exactly what SpaceX did.
Even Saturn V had that as well, and SLS. You might hear, if you go back to the Artemis II ascent callouts, there's one of these callouts very early on, about 1 minute into flight, where it's, I think, RTM high or something like that. It's about the RS-25 engines. Like, if one engine were to shut down, they will at least make it into orbit even that early on, because SLS has 4 of those engines, and it's meant to go to basically send Orion all the way to the moon. So just to go into orbit takes a lot less effort, and so SLS is way overbuilt for just getting into orbit. And so they do that call out marking when they pass that point in flight, where if they were to lose one of those RS-25 engines, then they will still be good to go. Of course, SLS is... It spent way more time in development. It's meant to sort of, as soon as you fly it, it really needs to work, sort of thing, whereas Starship's development is a little bit more fluffy, if you will, in the details. But I will say, overall, compared to what I expected for this flight, you know, some other flights where we started losing engines, things really went downhill very fast. This time around, yes, the RVAC engine went out, but then the other 5 engines compensated. They went for longer, and they were able to go into this coast phase, be able to deploy those satellites, which is very important for them, being able to do that inspection of the thermal protection system, and we'll see now that re-entry thanks to this as well. Now, let's hope that the ship holds up through that re-entry, and then, of course, after about 15 minutes of re-entry, we'll have the ship relighting the engines. They did say that despite having canceling that relight test in space, they still will continue and will try to do that landing burn of the ship. So that should still be good to go. We're starting to see some of those lights already appearing as Starship gets closer and closer to the upper atmosphere.
By the way, reminder, Alex, I just want to ask really quick, how many engines do they use for that flip and burn maneuver, and would it be an issue that they had one of them that went out on the way uphill?
No, so one of them, the one that went uphill, that was one of the RVAC engines. They used the sea-level engines, the 3 in the middle, basically, and so those are the ones that gimbal, that move around and steer the rocket. That is also why they were able to compensate for this time around for that RVAC out, because the other 3 engines that can move, they sort of wiggle their way out to compensate that thrust imbalance, and so they are able to compensate for that. And so those, it is true that the relight test in space was supposed to be with one of those sea-level engines, and so to minimize any sort of potential things going on, they basically disabled the ship from trying that relight test. But hey, they still got that landing burn attempt that might happen later into the flight once they go through re-entry, and so that is basically what we're trying to see happen here.
Alex, can you just remind us what happened with the booster at the earlier part in the mission?
Yeah, the booster ignited all 33 engines, it lifted off, it went uphill with the ship on top, of course. It lost one of the 20 outer engines, those that do not gimbal, the ones that do not move around. It's something that it can compensate for. We've seen even up to 2 or 3 engines going out before and still be good. it had a bit of a rough sort of flight, I guess, during that flip and boost back burn startup. After hot staging, the ship ignited its engines, it separated from the booster. The booster did a really quick flip around and tried to sort of come back and start its boost back burn. Reminder that the boost back burn this time around was supposed to be with all 33 engines. It ignited a number of them, but not all 33. It started losing engines as it flipped and started the burn. And so it then had to shut down and abort its boost back burn because the engines were sort of going out, and there was a fail-safe basically there in its software saying, nope, let's not continue this burn. It then did a sort of controlled re-entry. They got that test as well at the very least. That re-entry quite more spicy because they were going a little bit more faster than they probably expected, and so that was one of the other things as well that they at least got out of the booster at the very least, where it's like, well, at least they got the all of the grid fin data and everything.
Absolutely. And we are coming up to that re-entry point. I wanted to check in with Ryan. What's your heart rate like at the moment, Ryan? So high that we can't hear from him right now, it sounds. We're all very, very excited to see these beautiful images. I have to say, when you see the plasma off the side of it like that, it is stunning. I mean, this one looks like it's a little bit frozen at the moment.
No, it's still going. You can see particles moving by. I still love, again, that until Starship, this was never a thing to be able to view the entry on the heat shield and the plasma and everything live. You would get some in return from inside crew capsules. There was the silt spot on top of Columbia, but that never really saw the light of day that much, and even so, the quality is nowhere near like HD that we have today. So a shout out to SpaceX and Starlink and coming up with a way to be able to see this entry interface like we've never seen it before over the last couple flights here.
Ryan, you're back with us. Look at those gorgeous 80s style plasma streams we're seeing across the screen. What do you think?
Back for real now this time. Yeah, that's great to see. Of course, great to hear from Astroforge as well. But here we go, 48 minutes into flight. I mean, we're getting through it. Maybe we're going through re-entry a little bit sooner than we expected. But that's the reason why they have that huge hazard area in the Indian Ocean, because they can hit things if they... or they're not going to hit things even if they have a slightly off-nominal trajectory. So that's great to see.
Wow, all of those colors are so cool.
It's beautiful.
It's just bonkers. But you can see already the speed coming down as it hits the atmosphere and it slows down.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We're all watching those numbers on the bottom left as well, as you can see as it's slowing down.
Yeah, you can see the orientation as well. Again, I know I keep bringing up shuttle, but very similar with that nose up. Shuttle did about a 40-degree nose up as it was entering the Earth, so basically it would belly flop in. And Starship doing something very similar there with its thermal system. And again, the one thing that we saw consistently with V1 and V2 was it seemed like things would start to burn through those flaps, but those appear to be holding up pretty well right now with this redesign.
Absolutely gorgeous. Honestly, this is one of my favourite parts when you see the plasma coming in. We obviously didn't get to see that during the shuttle era. We weren't able to capture these live images as we are now. A couple of people have asked, where on the ship are the cameras positioned? Alex, do you know exactly where they are?
Well, this one in particular is on the flap, so as the flap moves, the camera view will also move. There are other fixed cameras on the hull of the vehicle itself. Other ones as well that are located sort of in the raceway area. For example, this one is fixed. It's looking at that aft flap. This is the right-hand side aft flap on the ship, and it's sort of in the engine area. There's like two different cameras, one looking to the right-hand side, the one looking at the left-hand side. They did explain that these tiles that you can see here on the leeward side of the flap, they are not there for thermal management or anything like that. They're just trying to get data on new ways of attaching these tiles to the vehicle, which is basically what we already had in mind and already sort of expected based on how different these tiles looked to be attached to the flap compared to what we see on some other portions of the ship. And so that is great news. They're trying to find other ways. The important thing is that it is for ascent. the key thing that they wanted to look for is that they survived the ascent rather than the re-entry. Why? Because before re-entry, you got the launch, and that ascent through the atmosphere, you are subjected to a lot of aerodynamic pressure and drag and everything, blowing on your tiles and doing all sorts of things. It can basically make your tiles go away. And so that's exactly what they were trying to test with these tiles on the leeward side of the ship.
Ryan, we were expecting about a 1 hour and 5 minute flight today, and things are looking a little bit off, but it's not a bad sign overall. It's looking like it's been pretty positive so far, right?
Yeah, I mean, they of course had that. Go on, Alex.
I just noticed the altitude actually went up, and it's going up now. It's using its lift to raise itself a little. Look at that. It was
like a skip.
Yeah, like a little bit of a skip. Yeah. We saw on previous versions that it held altitude. Now it's actually increasing that altitude, which is really interesting. That's good. This means that it's going on track.
Yeah, of course, we had that Raptor knocking itself out on ascent, that Raptor vacuum, so they had to burn for a little bit longer. So, of course, the trajectory will be, you know, even if it's tiny, tiny differences, it is going to be different, but it might just be a slight difference because they had to burn longer, because they had less thrust, etc., etc. But, I mean, these are the sorts of views we would expect on a nominal flight 52 minutes after launch, right? We're starting to plunge back into the atmosphere here, or even rise out of it a little bit. Oh, we're descending again now through 69.3 kilometers.
Yeah, it did a little bit of a dip out into a bit of a higher altitude. That is cool, man.
Great way to burn off some extra speed, yeah. And again, like Artemis did a much more extreme version of that, but it's a nice little way to kind of ease up on the heat shield a bit and bleed off some extra speed, so that way you hit the atmosphere not as fast, but still pretty fast.
It's looking controlled, isn't it, Sawyer?
Very much so. This is what we want to see, is it maintaining that orientation. Of course, they do have the RCS thrusters that they can use to kind of help with that. The flaps can move, but at this point, it basically should just be going straight down, belly flopping in.
You can notice a little bit of a tilt on the ship, right? On the indicator on the bottom, right? It's sort of like tilting a little bit there.
So it's like an
That's
escort?
cool. Yeah, like the shuttle. Again, Sawyer, really good that you're here, because shuttle guy.
Yeah, but the
Shuttle
space shuttle would
did the
do upon entry is as it got into usually thicker parts of the atmosphere, it would start turning left and right to bleed off that extra speed. It seems like Starship is about to do the same thing.
We're loving all the colours that are in the chat so far. Everyone's saying, why is it yellow? Why is it blue? Why is it pink? You know,
With Shopify, I could turn my passion for coffee into a business. And to be honest, when I first started Chamberlain Coffee, I had
colours from all of this.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm happy is that we're not seeing a lot of sparks as we used to, so that's a good test of the heat shield. Of course, there's still many more minutes to go. There's still 10 more minutes until the ship is going for the landing burn. So, but wow, I think you can sort of see its weight right there on the right hand side. You know what I mean? That's so cool. But yeah, right now they're going through the period of peak heating. Ironically, the period of peak heating is not the thing that you should be worried about. It's actually a little bit later, when the heating has already soaked into the tiles and the temperatures are rising up. That is when it's actually should be something that should concern you. But you can see there the leading edge of the aft flap turning orange. And I think even on the catch pin there on the left, on the top left, you know what I mean? Sort of turning a little bit of an orange hue. That's so cool.
It's beautiful,
No,
isn't
that's
it?
very hot.
Just to be precise.
Yeah.
Ryan, you were going over the trajectory earlier. Where is it we're expecting this to splash down?
Indeed, so we have this south easterly trajectory. If you're just joining us for the coast and re-entry of Starship and you are thinking this is a completely different trajectory, don't panic. It's a couple of degrees different. So we're going to be splashing down in a similar location off the coast of Western Australia in the Indian Ocean. And we are also, fingers crossed, should everything go to plan from this point. Of course, it hasn't gone 100% to plan so far, but if it continues to go to plan like we're seeing right now, we should be seeing Starship doing those banking maneuvers that we saw on Flight 11, the final flight of the previous version. I'm seeing some more glowing now from the re-entry, which is getting a little bit more spicy. But fingers crossed when we get through this re-entry and we get through to the kind of final parts of that procedure as it gets lower and lower in the atmosphere, it'll have a bit more control authority with its flaps and it'll be able to do that kind of swooping banking maneuver as if it were coming back to Starbase for a catch. Of course it isn't, it's going to the Indian Ocean. For fingers crossed, a successful splashdown.
Look at the catch pin there on the left. That's so cool. By the way, just to add to one of my notes earlier, I said, oh, look, that's the wake. It is technically the wake of its own engine chill vapors. So they're doing engine chill for landing burn later on. It takes a while for them to chill down the Raptor engines, and so they're doing it now, and that's what you see there on the right-hand side. So it's sort of its own plume behind the ship.
We mentioned those sparks before and how we didn't want to see them. I've seen a few go across the screen so far, Sawyer. What does that mean for the engine and for the vehicle even?
It doesn't necessarily mean much. Again, these heat shield tiles, it's okay if parts of it ablate away, which is basically burn away, as long as it doesn't burn through to the skin underneath. And technically, even if it does, stainless steel can withstand a decent amount of heat. The problem is when there's lots of it concentrated in a single spot for a long period of time, that's what we typically saw with the burn through those flaps down there. So seeing sparks like this is not a concern at this point.
Oh, we're seeing it tilt again. Did you see that maneuver on screen? Just slightly,
Yeah,
or maybe it was the camera.
It's turning the other way now. You can see the G-forces on the bottom right, by the way. It's now 0.9 Gs. They are right now about to leave the peak heating region. But as I said, one thing it's the heating, aka the power, and the other thing is the energy, the temperature. And so you heat up things, but it can soak in that heating as it continues that re-entry. As you can see, it's split off already about 10,000 kilometers per hour of speed and going at about 56.6 kilometers in altitude. There's still a lot of speed to bleed off. The G-forces will increase. On previous flights, they usually topped off about 2 Gs or so, 2 point something Gs. But yeah, still going through that re-entry.
We're going to keep watching this re-entry as it comes up on time. We're expecting it to possibly splash down in about the next 6.5 minutes. But I just wanted to say, if you're watching that gorgeous launch and thought, I would really like a print of it, go ahead to shop.nasaspaceflight.com. I believe we've got at least 2 of Max's images already up there on the shop available for you to purchase, and we'll bring those to you on the screen when we can. But right now, we're a little bit obsessed with these beautiful colours that we're seeing on this re-entry.
We're starting to go into daylight. Now you can see some clouds down there on Earth.
And you can just see the limb of the Earth as well at the top of the picture, just peeking through above the flap. Of course, this is a fisheye lens, but it does distort it a little bit. But you can see the curvature there.
And it's worth noting the flaps look really good at this point. Everything's still holding, no crazy sparks from any joints or anything. This is what we were wanting to see here.
And external temperatures are coming down. Peak heating region is now behind us. Ship still holding steady. It's getting a bit more sparky, right? As I said before, it's when now you should be expecting the sparky parts rather than earlier on.
Sparky, spicy. We're using all the names for today. Overall, though, this is looking very positive.
Yeah. Definitely much better than the first version 1 ship re-entry. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Poor ship 29, 10 ships ago.
That poor ship. And also, remember, this is the first flight of a completely redesigned vehicle. The only things carried over from the previous flight is the name, the number of engines on each stage, and the stainless steel. Everything else is brand new. So to see them get this far, over an hour into flight so far, with a brand new vehicle is really impressive. I think the test tanks have definitely paid off.
Yeah, it feels a bit. It's a bit of an illusion, isn't it? Because you look at the ship and you think it looks the same as it always has, but no, we're definitely looking at a very improved version. Ooh.
There we go. So we are at the peak dynamic pressure, and I think they're about to attempt what they call the flap slap. Look at the G-forces.
Look at that heat shield. You can see almost a pink in between them.
Just started.
There's a test. Look at those flaps.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Flap slap. I like
stress
the name.
testing. Yeah, the flap slap. It's SpaceX.
I'm almost expecting some KSP temperature gauges to start appearing on the flaps when they do those wiggles.
Should be now. Now it's like Falcon 9 booster sort of speed, as you can see there.
And again,
This thing is basically a skydiver right now. I mean, just think about that. This is 50 meters tall, 9 meters wide. It's belly flopping back to Earth. That's just bonkers to think about in of itself.
A little bit more elegantly, I hope, than a belly flop. Maybe not. I mean, it's enormous. I mean, you can't really be elegant when you've got a vehicle of this size. We keep saying it today, but this is huge.
Yeah, I mean, it can belly flop as long as it does the flip and burn to right itself afterwards.
All right. We should be close now to when it'll try to enter belly flop and do the weird turn, sort of imitating as if it was coming for a catch to pad 2. And that is going to be... Yeah, there we go. It's about to start that maneuver.
ELS banking maneuver.
There we go, that's the call out.
British accent for it.
And that
Look
right
at the,
there, so we're
the attitude
starting
indicator.
That was the voice of Lars Blackmore, the chief of landing at SpaceX.
So not only
Basically
Alice
pioneered
and
Falcon
Ryan
9
accents will be exposed here because he's also British. Well, no longer British. It's American now.
Yeah. By the way, this is called the RTLS banking. That was the part at the beginning, the return to launch site. So when it does go for that catch, that's what they call it, is the return to launch site.
Amazing
Look
shots.
at that angle.
Beautiful. A couple of people have asked, where are we looking at right now on the Earth? Ryan, do you want to remind us again? Where is it we're looking to see this splashdown happen in the next few minutes?
Is that
Well, we're seeing that.
Himalayas on the background? On the horizon? I think like what can be like mountains or something? Mountain tops?
I've got to laugh. I'm
not-
just seeing all of us. Adjusting
It should be
our
to the
head.
north. Oh my goodness.
I'm not 100%
Whatever.
sure on that one, but we are definitely over the Indian Ocean right now as Starship re-enters, coming from the direction of Africa towards Australia, and we are expecting splashdown off the coast of Western Australia in a few minutes' time. Of course, remember, the timings could be slightly off because of that prolonged ascent burn with the failure of one of the Raptor vacuums, but it should be in a few minutes.
Oh, look at the speed. The speed drop.
Subsonic.
Subsonic and is on target.
What we want to hear.
Look at the attitude indicator because it's now facing south.
And that speed is coming right down, as you can see in that bottom left corner.
So now imagine as if the ship is sort of right above the launch site and just basically facing south. That is also the same direction that the Pad 2 tower is facing. And so they are about to catch that ship. That's sort of the thing that you gotta keep in mind. They're simulating that catch, which hopefully should happen in a few flights from now. Wow. Those clouds down there.
Of course, we just left sunset. We're now approaching sunrise as we've flown, you know, pretty much halfway around the world, if not more.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, isn't it? People forget just how far it can go in that 1 hour and 5 minutes.
Really amazing views of the Earth as
You just
the
said that.
ship is coming back home. Thanks,
Yeah.
Starlink.
Indeed. Thanks, Starlink. Okay, Thais. Always seemingly with the same thoughts. And now turning for...
For final approach to landing site.
Look at that
There it
turn.
is.
There we go. Oh my gosh.
And again, slightly different timings, but that is to be expected. The vehicle makes its own decisions from the point of
Oh,
launch.
dear.
3.5
Here we
kilometers
go.
in altitude. Let's see what happens.
What a steep turn.
Yep.
2.5
He's
kilometers.
going in for that belly flop, as you were describing it earlier. You can see that orientation in that bottom right-hand corner.
1.5 kilometers.
What is that coming up the tiles there?
Landing burn startup.
Oh my goodness.
On board with the ship.
It did an insane 15.
Wow.
Soft splashdown.
Buoy cam
Starship is
guesstimate.
landing.
Look at this.
There we go. They've done it.
Here we
In the
go.
ocean. Over it goes. Boom. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They've done it. What a beautiful explosion to end a hugely successful mission. Ship 39 back on Earth.
Right on target.
Right in the middle of buoy camp by the drone that they had for those shots. Wow.
I mean, they lost one of the engines on ascent and they had an on-target splashdown. Full credit to GNC at SpaceX. I mean,
It did
how
an
they pulled that
ascent.
off, I do not know.
Yeah, it did an SN15 landing. 2 of the engines for landing burn.
Wow.
So cool.
By the way, there's the Gateway sign that previously was Gateway to Mars in that middle top box.
Maybe they could
Indeed.
put a Gatto way. We've got some prints to be able to share with you. We mentioned these earlier. Breaking news. I did say we've got some incredible images. I believe this is one of Max's that he captured of that launch today. If you want to get your copy of that print, head to shop.nasaspaceflight.com and go and get your copy right now. Look how gorgeous that image is. Amazing.
Great detail, Max. I know he's using a 1200mm lens for all those camera lovers out there. Boy, did that pay off.
Sawyer, I was like, you're a camera nerd.
Yeah, and this is the other one from Max too. I mean, the plume on. Look at the trail on that plume of those Raptor V3s. How long that is. Oh, and the mock diamonds that go with it. Oh my goodness. Gotta love methane.
Yeah.
Gotta love Methalox rockets are amazing.
And we've got a couple of replays we can share.
How many times are we going to play that bloody stinger? Every time they play that stinger, I regret making it. Oh dear.
I blame you. No. Let's have a look.
It's my fault. That's the problem. I created it. The root of the problem is me. What have I created? What has it become?
By the way, I saw someone in the chat that says we need to make a Gateway shirt now. So like have the pad and everything, and it's just Gateway instead of Gateway to Mars. But we do have those replays. We have those replays coming up. And a reminder, we had a camera that was pretty darn close to that wall.
This is a song about my first kiss. It should sound more exciting, like the best day of my life.
She just kissed me. That's so cool. I'm so cool. That was my first kiss, y'all. Yeah, that was my first kiss, y'all.
Way to find out, and that's to stay tuned.
Exactly.
We're all waiting to find out as well. I'd love to think that we know what's coming, but we don't. I feel like the team behind the scenes are keeping us on our edge.
Yeah. I'm just looking in the camera operator's chat. There's a camera that's used to make sure one of them are level that is very much not level itself anymore. Here we go. Here's some of those replays.